Physically, a single chimpanzee could overpower any human in this room. Yet, humans run the world while chimps live in cages. Why? As Yuval Noah Harari explains in *Sapiens*, humanity's greatest superpower doesn't come from strength or even intelligence. It comes from large-scale collaboration. We can unite millions of strangers around shared stories, like cultures, religions, and nations. But that system is starting to crack. Today, over 85% of global conflict stems from cultural tensions, and 73% worldwide say society is becoming more divided. At the same time, we're entering the most culturally connected era in human history. By 2030, 1 in 3 people in developed countries will be immigrants or their children. In other words, our world is becoming more and more diverse every single day, but our understanding of each other isn't keeping up. Every culture has depth, centuries of history, tradition, and roots. But watch what happens to all that when it has to fit in your pocket, when it has to compete for 3 seconds of attention. The richness doesn't vanish, it just fades away. What travels is the shallow stereotypes, the distorted images that couldn't come close to representing centuries-old cultures. In the real world, this means lots of things, none of them good. At school, a little girl walks to lunch with her traditional dish, and her friends just look at her funny. Suddenly, the dish that comforted her ancestors, whose carefully crafted recipe was passed down through generations, loses value in the little girl's eyes. A young man wanting to learn more searches his own culture online, only to find biased sources, conflicting info, and stereotypes. He can't tell anymore what was real and what was made up for views and for likes, because the algorithm doesn't reward cultural depth. The problem? Tech issues. Okay, what if he could look up his culture and find its philosophers, its poets, its inventors? He'd have something to stand on, because identity doesn't come from knowing where you came from. It comes from knowing what your people built. What if the little girl could walk into school and have her friends understand that just because something is different or from another culture doesn't mean it's any less rich or deserving of their respect? That is a perfect world, but we're not there yet. The problem is how we teach culture. Textbooks were designed for short-term memorization, not long-term understanding, and studies show that students forget up to 90% of what they read within a week. We're trying to teach the richness of human civilization through static pages, and it simply doesn't work. I saw this firsthand. Last summer, I represented Canada at the International History Olympiad, where I won gold for my research. But what surprised me most wasn't the competition, or even the fact that I won gold. It was that my judges, historians from Brown and Johns Hopkins, were surprised by many of the facts I presented about underrepresented histories. Think about that. If even the experts are missing entire narratives, imagine how much the rest of us don't know. This showed me something important. The problem isn't information, it's experience. Because I had done all the research and I knew all the facts. But the gap lay between that research and delivering it to people in a way that got the impact it deserved. That's why obviously, we can't bring ancient civilizations back to life for everyone to learn from today. But today's tech can solve this problem, and that's what I intend to do. That's why I'm building the Lotus project, a VR recreation of one of the world's earliest universities. It's designed to allow users to learn culture just by exploring the campus. In the prototype, you don't just learn that ancient sage Acharya Kanad invented the first atomic theory thousands of years before Dalton or Democritus even existed. You attend his lecture in the ancient university that shaped modern scientific thought. But why did I choose to do this in VR? Stanford University's Virtual Human Interaction Lab shows that virtual reality can be used to create compassion in others significantly more than traditional methods. Because when you experience something in VR, your brain processes it as a first-person experience, not like third-person like it would if you read an article about a topic or watched a video on it. Because of this, VR is significantly more impactful. Now, the research actually checks out because in 3 months within its launch, the Lotus project has also received significant traction. I've been featured on a news outlet with over 3 million monthly visitors. I've demoed this to the Canadian Federal Minister of AI and Digital Innovation. I'm in talks with one of Canada's largest museums, the Royal Ontario Museum, about a collaboration, and I've won awards for this project as well. 3 months. The timing for this technology couldn't be better. The global metaverse market is projected to hit $936 billion by 2030, with education among its fastest growing sectors. By targeting the global South Asian market as a beachhead, the project provides a quarter of the world a way to connect to their roots, and the rest of it a way to understand them. My vision is simple. Just as Chromebooks became standard tools in schools, cultural immersive experiences will become the new standard for how students understand the world around them. Because if cooperation builds civilization, then cultural understanding is what will sustain it. The Lotus project isn't about recreating history. It's about building the immersive experiences that will help humanity understand itself again. Thank you.